Hello everyone, and many thanks for joining today's stream. It is 15th of April, 1500 hours or 3 p.m. Moscow time, middle of the day. And as always, I have prepared quite a number of news, lot of news on some major developments. Program might be longer than usual, therefore, but hopefully you will find this update, this live stream informative, interesting, useful, possibly entertaining. And if so, please like the video, click that like button, leave some commentary, might be very helpful to deal with the algorithm, of course. And let me just remind you, if I may, that since I have a permanent exclusive updates now on Patreon, I decided to leave these live streams public, no longer unlist their videos. So therefore, your likes and comments during the stream or after the stream, if you are watching after, will be or might be very helpful. Also, dear friends, let me remind you that this project is completely subscriber funded and only exists as long as I have your support, community support. And if you like my work, if you want to help me maintain this independent media project from Russia, please consider to support her. You can donate to this project through PayPal or Boosty platforms. You can subscribe to my Patreon page where I have exclusive content on a regular basis. Or you can subscribe on page on Boosty. And during the live streams, because I'm streaming on both of my channels on YouTube and Rumble simultaneously, you can use the Super Chat feature or round feature on Rumble to send commentary, question, whatever, and simultaneously donate some to this media project. Okay, that's been said. Without any further delay, let's go through some news. And as I said, man, a lot is going on. And even though world is very much focused on the Middle East, I'm going to start with news that directly related to Russian Federation, and they're not even with a report about work of Russian air defenses past night, as I usually do, but with some other stuff, which is that, well, in case you missed my yesterday's second live stream, that was late at 11 p.m. in the evening Moscow time, I guess you will find this information interesting, at least, that Google's CEO spoke to one of the Google's bosses, big bosses, spoke to Vovan and Lexus, Russian pranksters, about promoting Ukrainian, pro-Ukrainian content, and they're suppressing Russian, pro-Russian content on YouTube platform. Let me give you some details on that. Of course, vast majority of our community not going to be surprised. After all, my channel is in the shadow ban for, I don't know, since forever now. And more than a year, there is no progress whatsoever, right? That's what shadow ban does, by the way. Your channel is not being shown to people. Barely members of community every now and then probably are seeing my updates. But nevertheless, when you hear confirmations of what we know from a high-ranking representative of Google, that is important, I think. So let's go through details here. Russian pranksters Vovan and Lexus conducted a conversation with the Google's managing director of cybersecurity, Scott Carpenter. This scum of humanity and his team are responsible for algorithms, right? So it's them that are shadow banning Russian, pro-Russian channels or independent channels that they don't like, and are artificially promoting, inflating numbers under their propaganda scam channels that are serving interests of the Western secret services. Remember this name, Scott Carpenter. Hopefully one day this creature will end up in a Russian jail and he will learn some lessons from the life, hopefully. During their conversation, Carpenter noted that their initiative to block Russian channels came from American authorities, in particular Donald Trump administration. This phrase probably will be especially interesting for Russian leadership that are thinking still to nowadays that they can build some bridges with the Trump's administration. while all Trump was doing during his first term and during his second term is harm Russia as much as they possibly can and kill as many Russian citizens as possibly they can. That's what Trump is known, at least for me, to me, right? So Trump administration was one of the initiators of blockings and shadow bans of Russian and pro-Russian channels on the platform, in particular, and this person, Carpenter, also admitted that changes in this policy are only possible if the political situation changes. So he admitted during the conversation with Vavan and Lexus that pretend to be Ukrainian officials or something. He admitted that they are basically tool in hands of US political class, US Secret Services. Carpenter stated, and this is quote, "As far as I know, Google's policy regarding blocking Russian channels is not changing. Initially, the Trump administration exerted significant pressure on Google to take additional actions in this area." He also emphasized that YouTube has no intention of leaving Russia and remains a communication channel for various groups, including opposition groups. "We have no intention of voluntarily leaving Russia," he said there, and basically confirmed what is already known, that YouTube platform and other Western platforms are actively used by assets of Western secret services that pretend to be Russian politicians, Russian opposition, Russian activists. In reality, they are all traitors, and most of them, majority of them, flee Russia already. And they are living in the West, and they are taking orders from their curators, from their masters, from MI6, CIA, you name it. And this creature, Carpenter, confirmed this. During the conversation, Carpenter acknowledged the user of YouTube to promote desirable content, including pro-Ukrainian content. They are ways to promote, he said, Ukrainian content through advertising, and it's not just advertising, but they are basically smashing into faces of the millions of people this anti-Russian content, pro-Ukrainian content, pro-Nazi content, pro-fascist content. Anything that harms Russia is being pushed all over their YouTube platform by the algorithm. And there were so many times, by the way, that when I'm opening YouTube, I'm seeing some channels, straight cringe channels, right? And I never was a subscriber to those channels, or never wanted to be a subscriber, never watched anything there. And every time I update the channel, update the page, those videos still there on the main page. Why? That's what they do through algorithm. They are pushing certain content as much as they like, really, because it's algorithm, right? Algorithm. It does not care. Only way to get rid of such channels and videos, at least for the time being, is to manually click necessary buttons there to let the algorithm know that you are not interested in this freaking channel or the content. This is the only way you will get some rest from seeing such stuff for a day or two. Then they will pop up again. That's what is going on. And this creature is acknowledging that. He also noted that many Russian opposition-minded organizations, including expatriates from their Baltics, are active in Russia and use YouTube to communicate and develop their channels, basically through those criminals, those traitors that are working with Western secret services are using whatever means are available for them, including social platforms, to not just push anti-Russian propaganda and anti-Russian narratives, but also to recruit, brainless people. And unfortunately, there are brainless people everywhere, right? And yet again, this was acknowledged during this conversation by this representative of the Google. So I think this is important. This is important to understand what's going on this platform, by the way. Whenever you see some dodgy channel with some crazy numbers, know straight away that it's inflated numbers. It's all fake. It's literally all fake. And when you see some channels from Russia, pro-Russian channels that have low numbers, you should understand straight away how is that and why is that. When everybody is talking about Russia in this world, but when there is only few channels that still exist on YouTube, somehow is not growing, is not reaching audience that is interested in the news from Russia. You can do experiment, by the way. Search in the YouTube right now if you want news from Russia, and let's see if you will see my channel there. You would not. My channel would not pop up. You will see CNN, BBC, Western propaganda channels. Just check. I have done it many times, and that's what's happening, man. Western channels will pop up. First 10, 20, 30. And they're no one gonna scroll like hour, right, to find some channel that actually is from Russia and pro-Russian. That's what these scumbags are doing on YouTube. And I think, by the way, it is necessary that these monopolies in a field of social media to be designated as a public square and to serve as a public sphere. This platform should not be tools in hands of Western secret services and that evil force that Western ruling class is. Probably majority of our community will agree with this. And how to do this, ways that this can be done is up to politicians, up to different countries. Let them think about it. I don't know. But that's what's going on. And if this hostility from these Western platforms were towards the Russian pro-Russian channels was not enough, well, unfortunately, here in Russia itself, there are people quite often in a high-ranking position that are harming Russian creators that are working on the forefront of this media war that is going on, because they are imposing more and more restrictions that harms these independent creators like myself. I know what am I talking about, because I'm kind of fed up when without VPN I barely can open anything. To stream, I have to use VPN to open certain channels, because I'm in the news field, right? I need to have access to certain channels, including Western ones, to know what is the line of propaganda in the West. And the only way you can know it if you are paying attention to it. And to work, basically, I need to use these VPNs constantly, waste money on that, while this should not be like that. And we have these reports now that telecom operators have begun warning Russians about VPNs being turned on. Soon maybe VPN, if you know, usage of VPNs will be designated as a crime here in Russia or something like that. I don't know. This is insanity. Instead of being focused on competition, instead of trying to compete with their hostile forces and defeat them in their field, right? Because after all, we are on the right side of history and we can do this. So instead of pushing for that, I don't know why, but these officials are pushing for banning, for bans, man, everything to be banned. They think what? That problems will disappear if they would not pay attention to them, or what? What's going on with this, man? I don't know. Bans and blogs and stuff usually don't work. Only creates more trouble and more problems in the long run. But seems like those officials don't really care. Let me give you details. And by the way, I believe Peskov was asked if soon usage of the VPN gonna be criminalized and some penalties, and people gonna receive some penalties for using VPN, and he said that he knows nothing about it. At least that's the report that I see in a number of sources. But if already conversation began on this matter, then probably that's what they're gonna do, man. Which is crazy, man. People will continue to use VPN anyways, right? People will continue to use their VPN anyways, but and with such steps, what government will do is they will create tremendous anger in a society and hate in a society, divisions in a society. Why are they doing this? Are they fifth column or what? What's going on here? Really, I honestly don't understand, man. Let me give you details on this report here. Russian telecom operators have begun informing users about possible disruptions when using VPN service and other blocking bypasses. RIA Novosti reports, for example, the MTS, one of the biggest operators here in Russia, telecom operators, MTS app displays a message when I log in, VPN is enabled. Data may not be displayed. And Megaphone, another big player on this market, says disable the VPN for the app to work properly. Beeline, another one, also recommends disabling the VPN, saying the app works better without it. And this is the warnings for now. This is just the recommendations that these telecom operators are giving to the users, but they are doing it because they've been ordered to do. And who can order these giants to act like that? Only state can do. Only state can do. And this is counterproductive. This is counterproductive. This is very unfortunate, very bad. And I don't know, man. Things gonna change, have to change, right? Otherwise, we might end up in big trouble eventually. If we continue on this wrong path, we should be able to compete with their other opinions, even if that other opinion is being promoted by algorithms and so on. We should still compete because we are right. We are on the right side of history. And we will succeed. But ignore and their blockings and stuff like that, I don't think that's the right way to go, man. My personal take, I don't know what you think, dear friends, but yeah, that's how it is here. But now, let's go through some other news. Sir, you wanted to say something, Anne? And that's also bad. I was considering, Anna is telling me that number of Russian platforms no longer work if someone is entering with VPN. And just a few days ago, I told you, isn't it, Anna, that I want to promote Vkontakte and Router to our community. I want to start uploading videos there too. And you told me that they wouldn't be able to open those platforms with the VPN. I'm going to check it, but you see, I cannot even promote Russian platforms, Russian alternative platforms, because I mean, if no one can access those platforms with VPN, those platforms probably are blocked in the West. So what is the point then for me to upload videos there in English when majority of people on those platforms are Russian speakers? I will ask her, dear friends, sir, do you know, if you're living in the West, have you ever tried to enter nowadays, like last week also, or 2 weeks, have you tried to enter Vkontakte, Russian social platform, or YouTube, for example? Did you try to enter, and does it work or not? Because I was thinking, you know, let's just ensure ourselves, let's give our community some alternatives, right? In case VPNs actually will be blocked and I wouldn't be able to upload videos. So at least I'll be able to upload videos on Russian platforms, YouTube and Vkontakte, let's say. So I was thinking about it, and then Anna told me that those platforms may not open if you are using VPN, which is, I don't know, man. Strange, but yeah, that's where we are, man. That's where we are. I have no freaking idea what governments want to achieve, really. They will just create more tension inside the society, and they will just generate hate, straight up hate, man, towards them from the people. And the young generation is already there, man. Young generation is extremely unhappy with all these blockings and stuff like that, censorship and stuff. Anyways, let's continue with some other news, sir. And we have this report from RIA Novosti that last night, according to Defense Ministry's update, Russian air defense systems intercepted 85 drones that were launched by Kyiv regime with assistance of NATO to strike deep into Russian territory. Drones were intercepted over the Belgorod, Voronezh, Rostov, Samara, Saratov regions, Republic of Crimea, and over the waters of the Azov and the Black Seas. Also, there was a massive attack on energy infrastructure in the Zaporozhye region, and according to reports, entire region is out of electricity now. The Zaporozhye region was left without power after massive overnight attacks by Ukrainian armed forces. Governor Evgeny Balitsky reported number of energy facilities were damaged, which led to complete power outage in the region. He wrote on his Max platform about it. Of course, engineers will try their best to restore supply of electricity, but yet again, due to our closeness to the front line, there is no guarantees that today or tomorrow or day after Kyiv regime and NATO are not gonna do the same, not gonna repeat the same strikes. Also, of course, Russian militaries are striking back, no doubts about that. And right now on your screen, you can see approximate flight path of Russian drones and missiles that are struck deep into Kyiv-controlled territory on military, logistical, energy infrastructure as a retaliation. And based on this map, you can see that mostly strikes were conducted on the southern regions that are still controlled by Kyiv regime, northern regions, central parts, no strikes in the western, in direction of Western Ukraine, which is unfortunate, of course, because most of still active facilities of military-industrial complex are located now in Western Ukraine. And for unknown to me reasons, strikes on Western Ukraine is very rare. Very rare. Past night, Russian military strike in direction of Odessa, in direction of Zaporozhye, in direction of Dnipropetrovsk, Kharkov, Sumy, Kiev region, but no strikes towards Western Ukraine. I wonder why. Why? What's up with Western Ukraine? Why there is a very rare strikes in that direction? Why we acting like that? Especially when we know perfectly well that Western Ukraine most likely eventually will end up in hands of Poland, Hungary, and Romania, or will become part of NATO. Why are not we striking on Western Ukraine on daily basis, on military logistical infrastructure that is located there? This is a legit question, man. Legit question, and I have no freaking idea why is that. Why we not striking on daily basis on enemy assets in Western Ukraine? But nevertheless, sir, it is what it is. Russian forces becoming more and more active on the line of contact. I guess weather conditions, ground condition is improving, and therefore reports are coming in about activization of Russian forces almost all along the front line from Chernihiv and Sumy regions to Kharkov region, DPR, Dnipropetrovsk region, Zaporozhye region. And we have this report, for example, among others, that Russian armed forces establish full control over the Volchansky Khutaram settlement in the Kharkov region. This village is located right next to Volchansk city in the northern part of Kharkov region. And let me show you on the map where this quite a big settlement is located. So this is Volchansky Khutaram settlement on the eastern side of Volchansk city, which is already under full Russian control, according to reports. I guess progress of the Russian forces will continue eastwards from this direction, from Volchansky Khutara, and all these settlements right next to border, dozen also settlements, soon will be liberated, I guess. We will find out. Yesterday, dear friends, I reported that since the beginning of this year, by yesterday, 74 settlements were liberated, so it's 75 now, and who knows, maybe during the day we will receive more reports about more settlements being liberated from this Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky. Very much possible. Also, and very much possible because Russian advance is basically unstoppable, first and foremost, because Russia is in a better position militarily in terms of weaponry, in terms of munition, and in terms of manpower. This is a civil war, by the way, civil war inside the Russian world, and people on the Kiev-controlled territory can fight no any less than we can, right? We are one people, basically. But difference is that we know that we are on the right side of history. And I would not say the same about people that are being drawn into Kiev regime's armed forces. They're probably questioning, most of them probably questioning their life choices on daily basis, especially once they will end up on the front line. And that's why desertions are so high among Kiev regime's forces. And that's why Kiev regime is forcing people, kidnapping people on the streets to throw them into trenches. And even though, according to reports, with this forceful mobilization, they are managing to send to army about 20 to 30,000 people every month. Nevertheless, they are unable to deal with their manpower shortages. And we have report on this very matter from Kiev-controlled territory. I think you will find this report interesting. This is Kiev regime's propaganda, by the way. Just saying. This is not a pro-Russian source that is reporting about it. This is a Kiev regime. This is from Kiev-controlled territory. So about 30,000 people are forcefully mobilized every month in Ukraine, but less than a third of them actually reach their combat positions, according to an analyst of the Comeback Alive Foundation, Anton Muraveynik. According to him, approximately 9,000 people make it to the front line out of 30,000, while the rest become a burden for the armed forces. He noted that the significant number of people who should not have been mobilized end up in training centers because they've been forcefully mobilized. This Kiev regime's thugs, Zelensky's thugs, they are grabbing people left and right. Some are eligible for deferment, others undergo treatment instead of training. However, they arrive in their brigades with the status of fully fit. As a result, 15 to 50% of such soldiers are later recognized as limitedly fit. After that, they either continue treatment or are sent to rear positions. The number of people in the combat positions decreases, while the number of rear units increases. According to his estimates, in brigade of 2,500 people, there are maybe about 50 fighters directly on the front line, which is crazy. But that's this is coming from Q control territory. So that's what's going on there. Not really surprising news there for me, but maybe some members of our community will be kind of shocked to hear this stuff. And so, yes, it is true. Kyiv regime, despite forceful mobilization, despite everything they try to do, they are unable to deal with their manpower issues, and that's why I guess their Western backers, NATO generals, come up with their idea of focusing on the drones, putting more emphasis on the drones on the line of contact. And well, they do. They send tens of thousands of drones to Kyiv regime, FPV drones included, mostly FPV drones, on monthly basis, in a hope that Kyiv regime's formations will be able to stop Russian advances with FPV drones, while lacking manpower on the ground. And unfortunately, FPV drones, of course, are causing significant casualties on the Russian side. And it is case also on opposite side too. FPV drones definitely have a tremendous influence on the battlefield. No doubts about that. And on this very topic, I want to share with you this report that UK has decided to supply Kyiv regime with 120,000 drones, 120,000 drones by 2026, by end of this year, which is crazy, clearly act of war. Most of these drones will be FPVs, of course. Some parts will be long-range drones that are used on daily basis for these long-range strikes that I'm reporting in all my updates. And there is also a maritime aspect of it. There are maritime drones that Kyiv regime uses with assistance of British intelligence and British military, and originated from the UK. But vast majority of these 120,000 drones will be FPVs. And this is clearly yet another act of war by British ruling class against the Russian Federation. And yes, I mean, I don't even want to talk about it much, because I become too angry, man. None of it should ever be allowed to happen, but this Western ruling class, including British ruling class, is so emboldened with the impunity with which they were committing numerous crimes against Russian citizens and Russian federations that they no longer care whatsoever. They're openly saying that they're going to send 120,000 drones to Kyiv regime this year alone. And it's not just the UK, isn't it? It's tens of countries, dozens of countries from the collective West that is engaged in this proxy war against Russia. Let me give you some details on this report. British Ministry of Defense has announced plans to transfer 120,000 drones to Kyiv regime by 2026. The ministry statement reads, the UK announces the largest ever delivery of unmanned aerial vehicles to Ukraine, with at least 120,000 drones to be delivered this year. Deliveries are timed and coincide with the Ramstein meeting of the Ukraine Contact Group, which will be held in Berlin. The drones supplied will include long-range recognition, logistics, and maritime drones. FPV drones going to be majority anyways there. Most of the equipment was manufactured at the British companies, including Takeover, Wind Racers, and Mellow Aeronautics. The ministry also emphasized that the first batches have already begun arriving in Ukraine this month. In addition to drones, UK will send their thousands of hundreds of thousands of artillery shells to Ukraine in 2026. It was previously reported that Kiev's regime's Western allies had changed their structure of their military aid, placing a primary emphasis on sending aircraft-type drones. And so, yes, that's what is going on. If it was up to me, dear friends, British, once UK would send even a single bullet, this quasi-state will lose its political leadership, military leadership, its military basis, its industrial basis. If it was up to me, I would do this to UK for a single bullet that they would send to Ukraine. And I will use all means necessary. And I mean all means. But because I'm not decision maker, other peoples are for this purpose out there in the Kremlin. We have different policies, and as a result, yeah, that's what we are facing. That's what we are facing. Vzglyad newspaper is reporting, meanwhile, that Lavrov, foreign minister of Russian Federation, announced the West's plan to create a military bloc with Ukraine. Interesting. If Ukraine would not be able to join NATO, globalists will create a new alliance in which Ukraine gonna be first. Okay. One way to deal with the issue. Western ruling class, they don't care. They don't care about restraint. They don't care about being careful with Russia. No, they are emboldened so much so that they are escalating literally on a daily basis. And probably they are 100% convinced that Russia will never retaliate, at least as long as Putin is Russian president. And maybe they are correct, and maybe they are correct. And then as long as Russian president is Vladimir Putin, Russian military and security services will never be green-lighted to strike back on these NATO member states that are killing Russian citizens in mass, directly and indirectly. Let's make it clear too. Maybe that's actually how it is. Who knows? Future will, we will find out. We will find out. But now let's go through this news. Here, Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov spoke about Western countries' plans to form a new military alliance in which Ukraine will be a key participant. At the press conference in Beijing, Sergei Lavrov announced that Western countries are developing a concept for a new military bloc in which Ukraine will play a leading role. According to Lavrov, the initiative envisions Kiev as a primary participant. Lavrov recalled that Vladimir Zelensky has previously openly declared his readiness to independently defend European states from Russia. The minister emphasized that Western partners view Ukraine as a central player in their future alliance. And we should not take this statement of Lavrov as something unimportant, because I think this is important. This is important because it might be that one of the scenarios that globalists are working on with their neocon allies, for example, to provoke direct confrontation between Russia and a number of European NATO member states, is this direction. That they will create a military alliance in which they're going to be Ukraine, maybe Baltic Chihuahuas, Finland, Poland, some others, possibly Germany, maybe UK and France too. And once they will create this alliance, they might come up with the ultimatum towards Russia and say, you know what, now Ukraine is in a military alliance with us, and you strike on Ukraine, you are striking on all of us, and we will retaliate. Maybe this is a possible scenario, one of their scenarios that globalists are working on with their allies to actually provoke direct clashes between NATO troops or troops of NATO member states and Russian militaries. Could be the case. Who knows? Either way, I think before end of this year or in the first half of next year, these direct clashes between NATO and Russian militaries will happen, will become a reality, because I don't think EU regime gonna be able to survive longer than that. And NATO countries will enter openly war with Russia before Kiev regime completely collapses. And that's why I'm coming up with this time frame, end of this year or first half of next year. Let's see. It's not going to be easy for European NATO member states, though, because despite bold statements, they are still facing some significant challenges. First and foremost, in terms of finances, in terms of economical situation in their countries, and also in terms of social fabric. They might print money if they want to, actually. But what they're going to do with the economy, with the real economy? That's the issue. And what they're going to do with the social fabric that is stretched beyond any limits in all, not just few, but all leading European countries: Germany, France, UK, Italy. So that's the biggest issue I think that they are facing. Although, financial issues also are something that they will have to pay attention to, because yes, they can print money in tons, yeah, of course, but more money they will print, higher the inflation, right? That's why you should not print money without actual justification, without economical demand on it. And therefore, we have this report now that EU will call on G7 to expedite payments to Kiev, according to media. European Union intends to urge G7 countries to accelerate payments to Ukraine under their air loan program, which amounts to approximately $50 billion, using proceeds from frozen Russian assets. EuroCTV reports citing officials. So EU is asking G7 to accelerate transfer of money to Kiev regime to finance this proxy war against Russia, and this is happening while EU itself is still struggling to this moment to allocate promised 90 billion euros formally to Kiev regime, but in reality for prolongation of this proxy war for another 2 years, 2026, 2027. So even though technically speaking they can print this money, still they are trying to find some other ways, because once they go crazy with the money printing, the economical situation in EU gonna deteriorate even faster, much more faster than it is happening right now. And ideally, European Central Bank are never gonna agree money to be printed like that, but we will see. As of now, Europe is clearly facing issues in terms of financial situation, in terms of economical situation, and most importantly, I will argue, in terms of social fabric, which is important. And no surprisingly, Zelensky kind of lashed out at Merz, Chancellor of Germany, while visiting this republic, and he went to demand billions and billions, even more actively, especially now when Orban is basically out from Hungary. He wants 90 billion. He knows he's not going to get all of it, but you can imagine how much money he's going to steal. This money will go in tranches, right? first batch, second batch, third, and so on. This 90 billion euro that EU promised supposed to last for next 2 years. But either way, I mean, Zelensky probably calculated for himself already how much money they're gonna steal. And it's in billions for sure. It's in billions. And he's going crazy. He wants his money, right? He probably thinks that the money of European taxpayers is his money, not the money of Europeans. So Vladimir Zelensky demanded that German Chancellor Friedrich Merz quickly provide Kyiv with a loan following Viktor Orban's defeat in a Hungarian parliamentary election, reports Berliner Zeitung. Zelensky met with the Chancellor Merz in his office and put forward a key demand. Ukraine wants access to 90 billion euro EU loan. In his opinion, Berlin should take a leading role in the European Union and quickly secure political approval for the loan, article states. And Merz will try. And even without that 90 billion, Germany's taxpayers are financing Zelensky and his inner circle big time. Just yesterday or day before, I reported about another 4 billion euros being allocated by Germany for these criminals. And this money is coming from pockets of German people. I don't know if German society knows about it or if they pay any attention to this, but Germany is a major financier of this proxy war against Russia after US. Germany is second when it comes to money supply and weapons supply. Just to know. And dear friends, there was, before I continue with some other news, let me react on Super Chat. There was also a gift of premium subscription on Rumble to a member of our community from Viper. And thank you very much. Thank you very much, Viper, for your gifter. Every time Viper gifts member of our community with their monthly premium subscription, that is a $5 donation to this project. So of course I'm grateful to Viper, and I'm grateful to everybody who supports my work and keeps me in this field of news and political commentary, who keeps this project alive. So thank you all. And let me highlight, dear friends, this gift from Viper. So this is the gift from Viper. Once again, thank you very much. And there was also super chat from Scooby. Let me react on it too. Thank you, Scooby, for your super chat and the $2 donation. And Scooby is commenting, drones have been discussed at their new revolution in military affairs since this war began in 2022. Drones have been discussed as their new revolution in the military affairs since this war began in 2022. This was always going to happen regardless of manpower shortages. I agree with you, of course. I agree with you, of course. There's not really anything to argue there, but because Kyiv regime is struggling with their manpower, drones now become a major main force with which NATO and NATO proxies in Ukraine are trying to hold their lines. And that's why tens of thousands of FPV drones and other type of drones, including long-range drones, being transferred to Kyiv regime on a monthly basis. UK alone is promising 120,000 this year alone. So you can imagine level of usage of the drones that is happening on daily basis. Of course, it is only a matter of time, and Russian militaries and militaries worldwide will come up with some solutions against the drones. I think Russian militaries already are developing ways to deal with this drone threat. And now, as spring spring is in getting in force, entering its main phase, let's say, and they're going to be more greenery all over the place. Of course, that will make life for Russian militaries a little bit easier. Militaries that are advancing, because there is a lot of forestry area, a lot of forestry lines and actual forests on a Q-controlled territory, and of course, Russian troops will try to move forward. They're using as much as possible these forestry areas, because what you're gonna do with the drones in the forest? Not much, really. It's not that easy to navigate in a forest with the drones. On the outskirts of the forest, you might be able to do something, but not deep inside. And so that's one way how Russian militaries will operate. Also, there are gonna be some other means too. I guess Russian engineers already are working hard to develop weapons that will be able to generate electromagnetic impulse that will kill drones. That will definitely kill drones immediately. And I think this is the direction that not just Russian militaries will go, but many others, to create portable generators of the electromagnetic pulse that will fry basically all the electronics in those drones, and to create drones that will be able to withstand electromagnetic impulse, which is also possible. That will make those drones so expensive that usage of drones will decrease in that case significantly. So I expect this electromagnetic portable electromagnetic weapons to arrive on the line of contact soon. Hopefully we're going to be there shortly. Hopefully. I'm not a physicist after all. I don't know how it can be done, but it can be done. I'm quite sure about it, and Russian scientists will figure it out. Thank you very much, Scooby, for sharing, and for your super chat and the donation. Thank you. And dear friends, let's continue with some other news. And well, before I go through news about Middle East, let me also share with you information that Moldova, former Soviet Republic, will officially leave CIS, Commonwealth of Independent States, organization that was created by former Soviet republics after the Soviet Union collapsed in 2027. So Moldova not going to be on CIS after April 8th of 2027. All media outlets here in Russia are reporting about it today. So Moldova has officially announced its withdrawal from the CIS and will cease to be a part of the bloc in a year, according to Deputy Prime Minister of Foreign Minister and the Foreign Minister of Moldova, Mihai Popsoy. After their decision to denounce the agreement were signed on April 8, notification was sent to the Secretariat in Minsk, and we received confirmation of its that it was received. Moldova will finally leave the organization on April 8 next year of 2027. Okay, that's I think that's a predictable decision on behalf of current Western-controlled regime there in Moldova. This former Soviet Republic, as I have said a million times before, is heading with a full speed towards full-scale disintegration, and decisions like that will only accelerate this process. Mark my word, give it 5 to 10 years, maximum 15, and they're going to be no more Moldova on the political map. This republic is absolutely destined for a full-scale disintegration. Some parts will enter Romania, and others, like Gagauzia Autonomous Region and other areas, will either go fully independent or will prefer to join Russian Federation. Gagauzia, Transnistria, other regions. 2. Society is divided approximately 50-50 in Moldova. Some part is thinking that they are Romanians and they want to be part of Romania. They almost all of them have Romanian passports. And I think they have every right to join Romania if that's how they see themselves as Romanians. And there is another part of society there that don't see themselves to be Romanians. Some see themselves as a Gagauz people, some see themselves as a Russian people, some see themselves maybe as something else. And those people don't want to be part of Moldova, part of Romania, don't want to be part of EU, part of NATO. They prefer to have better, good relationships, close relationships with Russia, or even join Russia. So Moldova cannot survive. Moldova, under the current borders, just simply cannot survive. And this decision, therefore, I think will only accelerate this inevitability of full-scale disintegration of this quasi-state, artificial entity that was created by Stalin, basically, when he took this land from Romania after the Second World War and created this Soviet Republic, Moldova. And also another news, I spoke about it, I believe, in yesterday's second live stream, late evening, but I think many members of our community might find it interesting anyways, that Speaker of Parliament of Armenia went to say that Armenia will not go to war with Russia. And let me give you some other quotes from him. No matter what the question is, we will not fight. We are not preparing any rivalry with Russia. Certain issues exist between all countries. We are here to discuss and resolve them. And when I see this report on RT, I mean, first thought that came to my mind was, well, what the hell? What's going on in Armenia? Why on earth Speaker of Parliament will talk about topic of war with Russia, even if some provocateurs among so-called journalists ask some provocative question? Why would he pay any attention to it? Why would he begin making statements about the topic of war with Russia or war between Armenia and Russia? This is wrong. This is so wrong, and on so many levels that it's hard to even describe. Crazy, man. You don't talk about war with other country if there is no grounds for that. In terms of either public discussion or something else, I personally don't see how Russia and Armenia might end up in a war, but language, topic itself demonstrates a level of hostility of current Armenian leadership towards the Russian Federation, and I think Kremlin and Foreign Ministry of Russia will take notice of that. You don't talk about war with other country for no reason. You just don't do this stuff. Share your opinion, dear friends, what you think, but I was kind of surprised. I was expecting any provocation from current leadership of Armenia, which is absolutely controlled by the West, right? In absolute terms, these are Western puppets, and I was expecting, many provocations from them, but I didn't expect they to begin talk about war with Russia in any context, because this is insane, truly insane. But that's where Armenia is, and the trajectory of this former Soviet Republic is also towards the very dark place, which is unfortunate, of course, but local people made their choices and they're gonna face the consequences now. And it is also unfortunate that Russian Armenians, our Armenians, and there is a massive diaspora here in Russia, 2 million people, according to some reports. And it is unfortunate that our Armenians are much weaker than Armenian diaspora in US or in France. Truly unfortunate. How this even possible that Armenia, which is right there in southern Caucasus, is now controlled by the West, is no longer friendly with Russia, towards Russia, when supposed to be other way around. Should be pro-Russian, because without Russian economy, Armenian economy will literally collapse. Literally collapse. Should be other way around. Should be extremely friendly towards Russian Federation and seek more cooperation, more integration, and be hostile towards enemies of Russia. But unfortunately, our Armenians, as a Armenian diaspora, are so weak compared to American Armenians and French Armenians that, you see, Western secret services did manage to colonize this republic while using those US and French diasporas. Very sad, man. Very sad. But yet again, what you gonna do, man? What you gonna do? Speaker of the Parliament of Armenia is talking about war with Russia. Insanity. Insanity. And let's talk about Middle East now. Let's go for a Middle Eastern topic. Whole world is focused on Middle East, and understandably so. But I'm so sick and tired of all these wars and hotspots in the world, man. When they will come, when most of the news that I will share in my program will be about something positive, man. I don't know. But yesterday, anchor of the Fox TV channel in US went to claim that war with Iran is over, which is interesting. So US President Donald Trump declared that he considers the war with Iran over. This assertion was made by Fox News host Maria Bartiromo. It's over. The journalist quoted the American leader's response to her question about whether the armed conflict between United States and Islamic Republic has come to an end. Interesting. I can give you, I believe I used to have a video. Let me give you a video of that statement of that Fox journalist, by the way. It cannot be taken seriously, of course. Cannot be taken seriously, this statement of Trump, because nothing is over. This is just yet another deception on behalf of US administration, obviously on behalf of Western ruling class, we might argue. But first, let me give you this video here.
You keep talking about the war like was. I said, is it over? He said, it's over.
So that's it. Trump said it's kind of over. Also Trump made a statement that US-Iran talks might resume in a couple of days. Negotiations between Iran and the United States may resume in Islamabad within a couple of days, US President Donald Trump stated. And I can give you a quote here: "You should stay there, really, because something could be happening over the next 2 days, and we are more inclined to go there," he told the New York Post, referring to Islamabad and potential new contacts between Washington and Tehran. And dear friends, in previous updates, I've shared information that there was a lot of speculations where this next round of talks might take place between US and Iranian delegations. In Islamabad, some sources were saying Islamabad, some were saying Geneva, Pakistan, and Switzerland. Also, Turkey and Egypt was allegedly considered as potential hosts of the negotiations. And well, if this report is correct, and Trump actually said to New York Post, right? Yes, New York Post, that they're gonna be talks in Islamabad. I guess that's the place. I guess that's their place. Although, of course, hardly anybody believes that U.S. is genuine. U.S. leadership is a genuine, honest actor. All they do is buy some time while preparing for the next phase of this war that they launch. Also, reports are that J.D. Vance allegedly will be a leading figure in U.S. delegation. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance is expected to once again lead the U.S. delegation in an event of the next round of negotiations with Iran, CNN reported, citing sources. And surprise, surprise, according to information, U.S. presidential special envoy Steve Witkoff and Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner, this greatest ever freaking diplomat, will also remain on the U.S. delegation. So straight away. You don't need to read anything else, man. Straight away that Washington is not serious about the escalation, about these talks. Otherwise, they would send some other people. Not these freaking nobodies, man. Kushner, who the hell is Kushner? Honestly, who is Kushner? I mean, he has no official status in U.S. political system. Who is he? Son-in-law of U.S. president, and so who gives a damn? Nothing he says, nothing he signs up for means anything, because he does not represent officially U.S. as a state. Witkoff is at least officially, I guess officially, is a special envoy of U.S. president. But who the hell is Kushner? How this is possible, that level of degeneration of political culture and the political class in U.S. is in such a low level now that no one is even saying anything on this topic. That why on earth Kushner is moving around this world as if he's some official representative of the America or American people, when he is not. If he represents any one side, that's a Zionist, right? That's all. But anyways, of course, this is all not serious, by the way. US is just buying time. Western ruling class is buying time to prepare the next phase of escalation. And they will continue to do so. They will continue to do so. And Trump's statement about war being over with Iran is also part of this deception operation, to buy some time and same time to prepare ground for further escalation, potentially for also for false flag operation, to bring in more countries in this war. And also interesting that Trump, according to ABC, ruled out a ceasefire extension, and he says that deal Deal is going to be reached. Deal is coming. Amazing one in next 2 days. What a nonsense, man. What a nonsense, right? Absolute nonsense. And we should keep in mind, dear friends, that Trump's statement that war is over, and that is another one that there's going to be no need to extend ceasefire because deal is coming. This deception is happening exactly at the time when EU, European NATO member states, let's be clear on that too, are forming coalition without US formally to facilitate shipping in Hormuz. So on one side, remember, number of European leaders were saying that they will send their military assets, naval assets, to secure navigation in the Persian Gulf, Hormuz Strait. But first, war has to end. And it so happened that yesterday Trump stated exactly that war is finished. There is no more war. There is no need to extend ceasefire because deal is coming. No wars. Right? War is finished. And now, those very same European leaders probably will act on their earlier statements. And that's what this news is about. So Europe wants to create, and this is not just a Europe, some fictional Europe, this is European NATO member states we are talking about. So European NATO member states want to create a coalition without the United States to ensure shipping in the Strait of Hormuz, Wall Street Journal reports. Wall Street Journal, massive propaganda outlet in the West. This is all connected. This is all connected. Trump's statements that war is over, this reporter that this coalition is being created to take care of Strait of Hormuz, while Iranian position is well known. Tehran made it clear long before any of statements from Trump and decisions of Europeans that naval assets of foreign countries are not welcomed. At least countries that are not friendly to Iran are not welcomed in the Strait of Hormuz and will be treated as a legit target if they appear. Iran made its position very clear. So European countries are considering a plan to create a broader coalition to facilitate unimpeded shipping through the Strait of Hormuz, including the deployment of mine sweeping and other military vessels. However, this plan will only be developed after the war and will exclude one specific country, United States. So you see the trickery there? You see the trickery? Europeans now, probably Germany or Poland or Italy, I don't think it's going to be necessarily France or UK, but they could be too. But in any ways, this one of their or several of the European NATO member states going to send their naval assets, pretend that this mission is a humanitarian. They're going to clear the Strait of Hormuz from mines, and they're going to do some good work there, even though they've not been invited by Iranians. And I think once these naval assets of European countries arrive in area of Strait of Hormuz, maybe they will pass once and enter Gulf. Maybe they will enter Persian Gulf. Maybe they will stay in Hormuz Strait or in Oman Gulf. Either way, once they will arrive in the region, I think Israeli, US, and British intelligence services will conduct false flag operation. They will strike one or several European warships. Probably going to be casualties as a result of this false flag operation. Of course, Europeans and Israel and US going to blame Iran for this. And European countries whose vessels will be targeted will invoke Article 5. And at that point, either all or majority of NATO member states will be in a war with Iran. And I saw commentary under the one of my videos that even if European vessels of the European countries are hit in that area, Article 5 cannot be invoked there. Why? How? Will be invoked because interpretation gonna be strict. This was attack on a NATO member state. This fifth article does not talks about attack on the ground only. Attack on assets is also attack on a country. It's act of war. And once Israel, US, and British secret services will pull off that false flag operation, let's say, I'm talking about possible scenario here. I don't know future, isn't it? I'm not from future. I'm living in this time. But this is a possible scenario I'm talking about. So if Israeli, US, and British secret services will pull off such a false flag operation and target warship of one of their, or several even, of the European NATO member states, those states will have every right to invoke Article 5 and to call their allies to join them in a military operation against Iran, because of course Iran gonna be blamed. And this way, it is very much possible, in my opinion, that this way globalists, neocons, and their Zionist allies will bring in to this war dozens of European countries, and simultaneously, of course, Western ruling class will continue to impose more and more pressure on the Gulf monarchies to enter the war with Iran, and they will try their best to also activate Kurdish armed groups, Baluchi armed groups, to launch war against Tehran. But if anybody, and same time, dear friends, let's be clear that there might be number of other scenarios too that Western ruling class is working together with the Zionists for further escalation, to orchestrate, organize further escalation in the Middle East, because no way Western elites and Zionists will ever agree to lose in their Middle Eastern chapter of their long-standing decades-old strategy focused on world domination and the complete destruction of China and Russia. Only competitors on geopolitical scale. There is no way Western ruling class, globalists, and their neocon allies will ever agree to de-escalate in this Middle Eastern story. Because without succeeding in the Middle East, without cutting off this region from their global economy for many years, they would not be able to succeed in their long-standing strategy itself. So they're not going to de-escalate. Just impossible, right? I mean, we can think about how we can stop Western ruling class, and the only theoretical option is if Moscow or Beijing or both together will take a nuclear stand against the collective West, and will make clear that either they are stopping attacking Iran, or Russia and China will provide Iran with nuclear umbrella. So nuclear standoff might actually force globalists and neocons, their Zionist allies, to at least think twice about their next steps. But that's in the theory. As of now, we don't really have much of indicators that either Moscow or Beijing are planning to take such a stand. So this is just theoretical talk there. Right, so Western ruling class not gonna de-escalate in the Middle East, and they will work on numerous scenarios about further escalation. And everything that is happening now in regards to this so-called peace talks and Trump statements that war is finished and war is over, and we win and beat everybody on this planet and neighboring planets too, and that kind of shit is just BS talk. All they want is to just gain more time while preparing this next phase of escalation. We all understand this. And I guess Russian Security Council is also on the same page with me on this matter, because we have this report that US and Israel may be preparing a ground operation during this exactly ceasefire and so-called peace talks. So Washington and Tel Aviv may use peace talks to prepare for a ground operation against Iran. Russian Security Council stated the Pentagon continues to increase the number of US troops in the region, statement said. And yes, that's exactly what is going on. Western ruling class is working on numerous scenarios. One is a false flag operation to bring NATO countries in, that European NATO countries in, that can bring 3,000 to 5,000 long-range missiles, for example, which is quite a lot. Simultaneously, they will probably push for a possible ground invasion, and not just by Gulf monarchies, but by NATO member states themselves, by US, UK, France, Germany, all of them, right? They might push for ground invasion also. But before that ground invasion, they have to prepare the situation. They need to have a justification for their brainwashed public in the West, first and foremost, right? And the only way they can create any justification is the false flag operations. False flag operations. 1, 2, 3, 5, whatever number it takes. Because Western ruling class is not going to de-escalate. Probably their thinking process is that they just cannot afford to lose in the Middle Eastern chapter of their strategy, because if they lose, their entire strategy is finished. And I think this is true. If they lose in the Middle Eastern chapter, their strategy that they are implementing since 2008 is largely finished. They're not going to be able to go all the way and achieve success. Impossible. And there was a let me continue, dear friends. There was also another gift of premium subscription from Viper to member of our community. Thank you very much, Viper, once again for your support. And well, as an indicator that all these talks about the war being finished and the de-escalation and peace talks is just a deception on behalf of West, we have this report that US sends thousands more troops in the Middle East as Trump seeks to squeeze Iran. In the coming days, the Pentagon will send thousands of additional military personnel into the Middle East to put pressure on Iran and force it to make a deal, according to Washington Post. And the Washington Post is lying to its readers, of course, because no additional number of American troops gonna actually influence Tehran. Deployment of additional troops means preparations of the ground for the next phase of escalation. That's what it is. Because Iranians already demonstrated with action, not just with the words, but with actions, that they are ready to fight and they are willing to fight. And no number of hostile troops in the region gonna scare them. Just not happening. Trump is not in a position to put any more pressure on Iran, really. They can bomb Iran. They can use nukes against Iran, and they might actually. But they're not going to be able to defeat Iran. Just not happening. And as time goes by, I'm more and more confident that Western ruling class will lose in this Middle Eastern chapter of their strategy, because Iranian people of Iran is, standing strong and united. And this civilization, these people, Badu, these people that represent one of the oldest civilizations in human history, these people know how to deal with the obstacles. That's why they survived for so long. And also interesting report from CNN that Trump gonna hate and his inner circle, because this report goes against their one of the main talking points, that they obliterated everything and everyone. So CNN reports that Iran still has at least half of its missile launchers, not the 10%, as US authorities previously claimed. And God knows me, what a surprise, isn't it? Holy moly, man. Holy moly. I wonder how many people are there in US or in the Western world that actually believe these nonsensical statements from either Trump or any of his officials, or the officials in the West, current or former, when they were saying that Iran's military capabilities are obliterated and well, it's just a little bit of push left and everything will collapse and this and that. Really? Iran is standing strong, man. Iran is standing strong, and I guess many people in US, people that actually believe in that nonsense, that US obliterated Iran's military capabilities, those people are gonna be shocked, man. Those people are gonna be shocked to learn that Iran very much is standing strong and willing to fight. They don't want to fight. They did not launch a war in the past 200 years. I mean, what else do you need as a demonstration that they are peaceful people? Iran did not launch a war in the past 200 years. How many countries in this world can say that they did not initiate any military conflict with anybody for 200 years straight? How many countries can say that, man? Just few, I guess. I mean, real countries, not freaking banana republics. I'm talking about real countries here. Anyways, I think this is interesting acknowledgement on behalf of US propaganda that a significant portion of Iran's missile capabilities are still intact. I know this. Our community knew this. Iran was retaliating on US and Israeli assets literally on daily basis, day and night, non-stop, since the beginning of the war. And so we are not surprised, but many people in US and I guess in Western world that were misled probably will be surprised to hear this. Also, dear friends, let me give you this information statement of commander of the Iran's Qatam al-Anbir Central Headquarters that issued a firm warning to the United States. If the US continues the unlawful maritime pressure and blockade activities in the region and persists in endangering Iranian commercial and oil shipping, it will be seen as a violation of a current ceasefire framework. So Tehran is, this is a warning shot from Tehran that you continue messing around and we will consider that a violation of a ceasefire and then we will resume retaliations. I guess that's what this statement means. Iran states it will not allow normal import or export shipping to proceed under the conditions of insecurity in the Persian Gulf, the Sea of Oman, or the Red Sea if these actions continue. Tehran emphasized it will act decisively to defend its sovereignty and economic interests. So yes, man, warning shots from Tehran right there. I don't know what kind of negotiation is going to take place tomorrow, potentially tomorrow in Islamabad, tomorrow or in upcoming days. But today, Tehran is, issuing these warnings, and Washington should listen. They would not, but it is good. It is good that Tehran is willing to no longer play this or no longer be part of this deception operation that West is engaged in, to demonstrate to the whole world that Iranian side wants the escalation, actually wants the escalation. Well, they went for a first. They agreed on a ceasefire, this 2-week ceasefire. They participated in the first round of talks with this useless US delegation. And the whole world sees and understands that Iran is serious. And we also see and understand that Western ruling class is not serious. And therefore, Washington is not serious. And Israel is not serious about the escalation. So therefore, it makes all the sense if Iran will resume its military activities against US and Israeli assets, time of their choosing. Makes all the sense. Why are you giving this additional time to your enemy? If this pause is very beneficial for you too, or for Iran, I'm saying, if this pause in military activities is very beneficial for Iranian side, then okay, makes sense to maintain this ceasefire for 2 weeks. But if fundamentally this ceasefire did not really add much to Iran's defense capabilities, then defense or offense capabilities, then why Iranian side should give her like free pass either to US or to Israel or to Western ruling class to prepare better, to buy more time and prepare better for the next phase of escalation? Makes no sense. So let's see how things gonna develop. Also, Wall Street Journal reports that US allegedly intercepted 8 tankers attempting to pass through the blockade. Since the beginning of our naval blockade of Iran, the US Navy has intercepted 8 oil tankers that were attempting to enter or leave ports in the Islamic Republic. This was reported by the Wall Street Journal, citing an unnamed US administration official. And it's up to you, dear friends. Will you believe in this report or not? With the exception of Western sources, no other source reported about any Iranian vessels being detained in the Persian Gulf after introduction of this US maritime blockade on Iran. Exactly opposite reports are coming in that, according to Fars news agency, Iranian media, a second Iranian vessel crossed Hormuz Strait without any issues, despite US blockade. So which side to believe? I don't know. If US detained 8 Iranian tankers, probably Tehran will make some statements about it. In these warning shots from IRGC, nothing was said about detained tankers, no demand to those tankers to be released if they were detained. This is a general warning in regards to blockade itself. So I don't know what's going on there. I don't know what's going on, but Fars is reporting that 2 Iranian vessels crossed the Strait of Hormuz successfully without any issues. And yesterday, Chinese tanker sanctioned by the US also passed through Hormuz Strait without any issues. And I find it hard to believe that US Navy that is stationed not far away from Strait of Hormuz were unable to detect these vessels. Of course, they detected them and decided not to intervene. And also interesting report that over 20 vessels passed through Strait of Hormuz in the past day, according to media reports, according to Wall Street Journal, for example. So does it looks like a blockade to you? Not really, isn't it? Not really. Let's continue with other news. And well, Lebanon, dear friends, of course, is facing tremendous challenges because of the war that Israel is waging against Lebanese people. And we have report today that Israel blew up key bridges to cut off southern Lebanon from rest of the country. Recent destruction of the Kasmiesh bridge has resulted in a near total isolation for families living south of the Litani River, aimed at expanding Israeli offensive. So Israeli side has no care about any ceasefire, anything. They continue to commit crimes against humanity, war crimes, non-stop, a non-stop regime. That's what is happening, and people worldwide is becoming more and more people. By the way, many people were already sick and tired of this fascist entity, but more and more people are waking up and realizing that Israel is not some innocent victim right there. More people are waking up and realizing that actually neighbors of the Israel are victims, people that are living in the neighboring countries, and also in Israel, people that go against these fascist genocidal narratives of the Zionists. So more and more people are waking up, and it happens that some of them are officials, MPs or whatever, and they're in Poland. One of the MPs, am I back? Yes. My apologies, dear friends, sir. Again, some issues with the connection. What the hell? Am I live now, online? Okay, I am online. Uh, I apologize, dear friends. I you know, sometimes this kind of stuff happens. I cannot do much about it. And so yes, I was sharing this news about Polish MP. I don't know exactly when live stream was cut. I was sharing this report about Polish MP that demonstrated his interpretation of Israeli flag that you will see on your screen right now. And there in the Polish parliament, there were people that were actually supporting him, right? There is of course, a diplomatic scandal now between Israel and Poland, but I don't think decent people in Poland will actually care about protests of that Zionist Nazi fascist entity called Israel, modern Israel, by the way. And as I said, more and more people are waking up to atrocities that are committed by Israeli fascists, by Zionists and Israeli fascists and their allies. And this process is unstoppable. This process is unstoppable. I have said many times before, that the only way sustainable peace can be achieved in the Middle East is when this fascist entity, Israel, will be demilitarized. That includes denuclearization also, and will be denazified. This is only way sustainable peace can be actually achieved in the Middle East. Nothing else will stop these fascists and genocidal maniacs. Nothing else will stop them. And as a reminder, who those Israeli fascists are, let me give you a report from Gaza Health Ministry, according to which at least 72,000 Gazans, Palestinians, were killed in the Gaza Strip in Israeli attacks since October 2023. At least 72,000. Since the beginning of the so-called ceasefire announced on October 11, 2025, at least 765 more civilians were killed by Israeli fascists and more than 2,000 injured. Just in past several weeks, Israelis killed and injured thousands and thousands of civilians in Lebanon and forced million people out of their homes. Million people were forced to leave their homes in southern Lebanon. That's what Israel does. That's what Israel is. And so no one should be surprised when some politician or private citizen will demonstrate political stand with either way that Polish MP did or any other way. No one should be surprised. And no one should ever tolerate or try to justify Nazism and the fascism and the genocide. Israel and actions of Israel never ever can be justified because genocide, fascism, and the Nazism, ethno supremacy, apartheid never can be justified under no circumstances, period. Lavrov, was in China, dear friends, and he had a meeting with his Chinese colleague, with some other officials, and also he had a meeting with the Chinese leader, Xi Jinping. Of course, relationships, objectively speaking, relationships between Russia and China have never been as good as it is right now, objectively. Relationships between two countries were never as good as now. And I think due to objective realities of the modern era, neither Russia neither China have any other options but to further deepen the ties, further improve the relationships, right, and to become and to be actually allies of each other. Maybe, maybe we are situational allies, but either way, we don't really have much options here, isn't it? Because separately, we're gonna have a harder time to deal with the Western ruling class, this extremely aggressive, extremely hostile Western ruling class. Together, we have better chances. And so relationship is going to continue to improve. And give me a sec, dear friends. I put this another notebook on the charge, otherwise it would go off, and I need to monitor video there to know if there is any technical issues during the live. And so, yes, Russian foreign minister had a meeting with their Chinese leader. Bilateral relationships, situation in the Middle East, many other topics were, of course, discussed. And today, during their second live stream this evening that I will launch at 9 p.m., I will share during that stream statements that was made by Foreign Minister of the Russian Federation, Lavrov, during the press conference in Beijing, I believe, and I will share some, of course, all the major updates that will be available for that time about political, geopolitical topics that we all are paying attention to. And dear friends, I think that's about it. It's 1.5 hours already. This live stream is so let me now react on a super chat from Scooby. There was another super chat. Let me react on that, and I will end a live stream. So thank you very much, Scooby, once again for your another super chat and the $2 donation. Scooby is commenting. Many experts have said that Israel is exhausted and they're taking huge losses in Gaza, Lebanon, from Iran. How are they able to keep on going? Well, because they have a massive sponsors, man. Because they have air supremacy, air superiority, and it does plays big role. Of course, they are obliterating entire settlements with the aerial strikes. And when it comes to ground operations, let's be real, man. They were engaged in war against Hamas for so long, and they were unable to defeat Hamas. They were unable to establish full control over the Gaza Strip. So I would not say that in terms of ground operations, ground forces, Israel is really that successful. Without air support, air superiority, Israeli ground forces is like nothing extraordinary. And in areas, in the moments when Israel is unable to provide closer air support to Israeli forces in Lebanon, for example, they are suffering significant casualties. From Hezbollah. So only actual strength compared to its neighbors when it comes to Israel is their air superiority. On the ground, Israeli troops are no any better than Hamas fighters or Hezbollah fighters. And this is factual, isn't it? despite all the resources that they use, despite the genocide that they commit in the Gaza Strip, while killing literally everybody who came, who they came across, they were unable to defeat Hamas. And Hamas is still in charge there, right? And I don't think Israel is going to be able to defeat Hezbollah either in Lebanon. Not happening. And you know why? First and foremost, because of the attitude of the Israeli fascists towards their human beings that are not from their caste. Attitude is so unhuman towards other people that Israelis themselves are creating more and more fighters that are joining Hamas, Hezbollah, or any other groups. And also, when it comes to Manpower, Israel, how many people are living in Israel? 10 million, 12 million. They have a possibility to, first and foremost, everybody is serving there in army. Man, woman, doesn't matter. Everybody is serving. And they have a significant number of reservists that they are calling regularly. Before launching war with Lebanon, another one, I believe they called 450,000 reservists. So they have manpower. They have manpower, but still they cannot do much against our armed, prepared enemy. They are killing a lot of civilians, tens of thousands of civilians, but when it comes to actual trained, well-armed enemy that's capable of fighting, when it comes to those, Israel is unable to defeat them, despite tremendous superiority in their modern military equipment, tanks, armored personnel carriers, artillery, long-range artillery included, drones, air force. Despite all this stuff, they are unable to defeat fighters from Hezbollah or Hamas. I mean, this is just factual, right? So, and probably they are exhausted. Probably they are very much exhausted, and I don't know how long they'll be able to keep up, to continue this aggression towards everybody there. But you know, it seems like they are digging their own grave, man. That's how I see actions of the Israel, that they are actively digging their own grave with their own actions. That's what it is. Thank you very much, Scooby, for your super chat and the $2 donation. And Mickey is commenting that IDF is psychologically exhausted. Yes, of course. IDF ground forces especially. I think Air Force too. I mean, when those pilots, no matter how brainwashed they are, when they are bombing civilians and killing so many civilians, they will have some psychological issues eventually, for sure. And ground forces too. Ground forces, they were killing civilians in Gaza in the close range, on the point blank range in many cases. And that will leave such a trauma on psyche of those militaries that their level of suicides among Israeli reservists is gonna skyrocket. Maybe already did skyrocket. Because no matter how much you try to turn human, nominally human, into absolute zombie and killing machine, there is at least little bit of humanity left in that individual, and that little bit of humanity will find no peace due to all the crimes that those individuals are committing. And eventually, those criminals will, many of them at least, will commit suicide. And they're never going to be normal members of the society, any normal society. Yet again, I mean, when you go on a killing spree and killing civilians, one thing is a war. And when you're even fighting war, according to what I have read about, by the way, even in a war, when you are fighting armed enemy, you will get PTSD. Most likely you will get some level of PTSD if you are, especially if you are seeing enemies that you kill in close range combat, for example. Even in that case, when you neutralize armed enemy, you will get psychological trauma and you will struggle whole your life to deal with it. But because it's a war and you were engaged in a combat with armed enemy, you might be able and probably will be able to deal with this trauma that you killed another human being. But Israelis, by the way, were killing civilians in mass, not just from air bombing campaign, but Israeli artillery men were killing numerous civilians, and ground troops, ground forces, while going into this settlement and that settlement, were killing literally everybody they see. And those people, man, many of them probably will kill themselves, because that little bit of human that is still there will never let them find the peace. And there must be a little bit of humanity left in those IDF soldiers that went on mass killing of their Palestinian civilians. And I don't know stats, because I don't really care about Israeli militaries, by the way. I mean, fuck them all, right? I honestly don't care, man. If all of them died today, I would not drop a single tear. If by chance I come across some statistics, I will pay attention to, but especially I'm not going to waste time on that. But I think number of suicides among Israeli militaries, so-called militaries, I mean, criminals, mass murderers, going to skyrocket for sure. Because many of them will face some serious issues, serious psychological issues. Also, Nitish is commenting, Levan, they are using drones for those operations, so I doubt they will have any PTSD. No, Nitish, you think drone operators don't have a PTSD? They are one of the first who has those PTSD, because you cannot get rid of the knowledge that you cannot erase from your memory, right? If you don't have a brain injury or something, you cannot erase from your memory that you killed their civilians. Even when you kill enemy combatant, you will face PTSD. That's how it works. Humans are social animals, and killing other human is not normal for our psyche. Yet again, if you are in a war, killing combatant, you might be able to deal with psychological trauma that you will get anyways. But if you go and kill civilians, no matter with which weapons, airstrikes or from planes or drones or with artillery or actually on the ground in a point blank range, when you kill civilians, you're not going to find peace ever in your life, no matter how hard you're going to try, because there will be always little bit of humanity left inside you. And that little bit of humanity will never let you find the peace with crimes that you committed. No matter you are ground trooper or drone operator or who you are. That's how it is, man. It's only in the movies, they just put a button and missile goes and they forget about it. No, they know that they just killed 10, 20, 30 civilians there. I don't even want to imagine how horrifying That must be for a human. When you kill some civilians, innocent. When you kill combatant in a war, that is shocking too, because you just killed human being. Your enemy, yes, but still it's a human. It goes against our psyche. We are social animals. But if you kill civilians, that should be absolutely horrifying. And I'm telling you, man, I don't know stats about Israeli army, but probably there are a lot of suicides there, and those suicides only gonna skyrocket. And that was the case in terms of US military store. They were killing so many civilians that eventually they could not live with that. And there are thousands of more US militaries killed themselves. More US veterans killed themselves than US militaries that died in the combat. Much more. Okay, dear friends. Okay, dear friends, this is it. This is it for now. Once again, many thanks to all of you, dear friends, for your time and their attention. Many thanks, of course, to Scooby and Viper for support through gifts or premium subscription and their super chats. And many thanks to all the members of our community, of course, who supported my work and continues to support through donations, through PayPal, Boosty, through subscriptions on my Patreon page and their Boosty page, and keeps this project alive and keeps me in this field of news and political commentary. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day. And dear friends, before I go, let me just remind you that under this video, you can find all the links through which you can support. And this evening at 9 p.m., yesterday it was 11, but today, let's see how day goes news-wise. And if there is if I have an update, then I will launch it at 9 p.m. in the evening. Bye for now, and take care.